You think about books back in the day, how cool they were, because it wasn't like nowadays we have a printer, you just print out pages, they fold them and cut them and stuff. This, they'd have to like have a printing plate, and you put every single letter in, like T, H, E, and like you print them all in there, you stamp them with ink, put them in here, pressure down, presses on the page, comes back up, and you go print it again and print it again. And like, imagine how much work went into printing books back in the day. I think we take it so much for granted. It's the reason why I love old books, because someone didn't just write a book and post it, have AI write a book and posted it on Amazon 2 days later and start shipping copies, right? Like, they had to think about it, they had to write it, and then literally pay for somebody to go letter by letter to put it all together, put it on a press like this action, to press it into the page. And the work that went into printing books back in the day was amazing. I want to show you guys this old printing press I bought. I spent $10,600 in this printing press, plus a whole bunch of money to ship it here. It was really heavy, but this is not just a printing press, but it's a really special one. As you guys probably know, I'm building an event center in a museum right now. In the museum, there's a whole bunch of different authors we're showcasing. One of my favorite authors is a guy named Elbert Hubbard. Any of you guys who saw the video I did on the message to Garcia, Elbert Hubbard was one who wrote that book. But and this is a picture of him right here, Elbert actually ran a community called the Roycrofters. And they're kind of like an Amish community where they did a whole bunch of really cool things. They did a lot of printing. They were like the printing press of the New Thought movement back in the day. And they printed all sorts of books. And so this right here, the book of the Roycrofters, and this book is really cool because it's just a catalog of different books that they were printing. So you can look in here and just see like, oh, here's the first book you can buy from them. The reason why I share with you this is because this printing press is from the Roycrofters. It was in the location. It was printing a whole bunch of books way back in the day. But not only that, it printed one of America's most important books. You may have heard of it. It printed the first edition Wizard of Oz. And that's why this printing press is so special for me, because number one, it was in the Roycrofters. It was an Elbert Hubbard's actually printing press. And number two, it actually printed the first edition of Wizard of Oz, which is kind of cool. I haven't tried to lift the printing press up yet, but it's pretty heavy. I mean, it's solid. We could definitely use this for deadlifts. We could use it for pressing curls. Not right now, till my arms heal, but in the future, I'll be able to definitely, do a lot more exercises with this in the future. That's the plan. Most of the books I collect have been personal development books or religion books, things like that I'm really passionate about. But last summer I went on a cruise with my kids, and I remember that night they had a Wizard of Oz show. And so I took Nora and my wife and went to this show. And we were watching the whole thing, and I was just like mesmerized by the story of Wizard of Oz. Like, I love it. And then later we went and saw Wicked. But I remember that night after watching the Wizard of Oz on the cruise ship, thinking like, who wrote Wizard of Oz? What's the story about this person? I don't know nothing about this author. And I was just fascinated. So I started first Google search, like, who wrote Wizard of Oz? And it comes back, it was L. Frank Baum, right? So he wrote this in 1900. So that was the very first edition came out. It was the first one that came out. And then over the time, almost one a year for the rest of his life, he wrote a new book. And so if you look back here, I've got editions of every single one of them. So one's like, again, Wizard of Oz. This one's Grandpa in Oz, The Lost King in Oz, Dorothy in Oz. There's Scarecrow in Oz. Like, almost every single character in the Oz world that he created, each of them had their own book telling their backstory and their life and everything. I was able to find someone who's selling the entire collection plus all the original dust jackets. And so I bought it immediately. I'm like, this is so cool. I want to just have a collection of the Wizard of Oz stuff. Later, I started reading the story about L. Frank Baum and the author. This is the reason why I want to make this video, is for all of us. So if you look at his life, he wrote this book, he created this whole universe, this whole world he was sharing with everybody. And then he went out there. First thing he's like, I want to turn this into a movie or a play. So when he got a play written for it, and they launched it, and it failed. Later, he raised money and tried to launch it as a film. He tried 3 different times to launch the Oz series as a film, and every single one was failed, and it failed, and it failed. When he ended up dying, he passed away broke, in debt, bankruptcy, all sorts of stuff, basically thinking that his vision and his art that he created was a failure. And then 20 years later, somebody found the book, read it, and created the movie, The Wizard of Oz, which now is one of the most beloved films in the history of American film, right? Everyone's seen The Wizard of Oz. My kids have seen it, the play. Now there are adaptations with Wicked, telling the different versions of the story. Like, all that came from one guy who was so passionate about his dreams, his creativity, his stories, his art, and these worlds he created. But if you think about it, he never actually had a chance to see the fulfillment of it during his life. And I want to share that with you guys because a lot of us who are experts, we're out there every single day doing our stuff, right? We're creating YouTube videos, we're posting podcasts, we're creating products, we're like speaking, we're traveling, we're doing all this stuff. And the reality is, most of the time, you don't know the impact of the things that you're creating in this life. Sometimes you get the blessing to find out, right? There's times when I'm a funnel hacking live, people come up to me like, Russell, you changed my life, or I'll see some in the airport. And those times are so fulfilling. But for every one of those, there's people that you're touching and you're affecting you'll never hear from. Like, I remember it's like a year and a half ago, my wife and I were in Vegas for something, and we're literally just walking through the casino, and this guy runs up to me. And he's like, hey, dude, you changed my life. He's like, no, let me tell you the story. He starts talking about how he had no money, bumped into my book, read the book, and then started using ClickFunnels. And he told me, he's like, I've won all the awards, like multiple 2 Column Club awards, 2 Column Club X, 2 Column Club C. He's like, but I've never actually submitted for any of them. I'm like, why not? He's like, I just didn't feel like I wanted to brag about it. But he's like, dude, I've And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I know we have documented like 3,000 people that have won 2 Comic Club awards, like, 400 or 500 that won 2 Comic Club X. Like, we have all documentation, yet there's this guy who's hit all the awards and more that I'd never even heard it before. He's never like submitted for paperwork. And I think about people's lives that have changed me, right? Like, I read someone's book, or I saw a video, or heard someone's speech somewhere, and they radically transformed my life. I never told them before. Like, if I saw them, I would tell them, but I never had access to actually tell that person the experience and how they affected me, right? I think about that for all of us as creators. It's one of the reasons why I tell people, like, you should be publishing every day. You actually put your message out there, because you have no idea who you're affecting. And a lot of the times you are never going to hear about it. L. Frank Baum died thinking his book and his legacy was a failure, and 20 years later became one of the most famous stories in the world. He never had a chance to see that legacy. And so I wanted to share that just because, number one, this is a cool piece I've decided to have at the library, but number two, the story of this author and the book series he wrote just inspires me. Like, hey, I may not ever know in this lifetime what the ripple effect is of my work, of things I'm putting out there. Knowing that someone like him never got to see the end of it, now it's become what it has, it gives me more faith in life. I'm going to keep putting things out there, I'm going to keep publishing, I'm going to keep promoting, I'm going to keep trying to plant as many seeds as I can out there into the world, because you never know what soil it's going to hit, and it's going to blossom, and it's going to change that person's life. Hopefully it gives you motivation. I remember at the second Funnel Hacking Live ever, Sean Stevenson, one of my close friends, passed away a couple years later, but again, I remember he shared this powerful metaphor about the lifeboat. The premise of his story was when somebody is in a helicopter coming to save someone from a lifeboat, right? Like, you see all these people in the water, it's like, who do you save? You get closer, and there's people swimming all sorts of ways, and he's like, the only people you can save are the ones who are swimming towards you. And he started talking about it. A lot of you guys have a YouTube video that got 200 views. We posted it to TikTok and 30 people saw it. A lot of time, like, oh, only 300 people saw it, only 10,000 people saw it, only whatever. It's like, 10,000 people saw it, 20,000, like, that fills a stadium. And the people that are commenting and liking it, those are the people that are swimming towards you. Those are the people you have a chance to save. Our job is to put the message out there. Try to make as much of a ripple effect as you can. And some percentage of people are going to start swimming towards you. Those are the ones who need your help. Those are the ones who your message could change their life forever. And I remember writing the Expert Secrets book at the very beginning, writing the introduction there. I was like, you don't understand, like, your message matters. Like, you might have the advice that saves somebody's marriage. You might have the advice that helps somebody lose weight, feel confidence, that, like, it might be the one that gives them what they need to get freedom from whatever, right? And it's like, if you're willing to put those things out there, that's why I do what I do, because I love seeing those messages. I love seeing the positive influence you guys are putting out there and how it can change people's lives. It's interesting when you look at his work, like, this is the book we know for, but he was so passionate. Like, he always thinking about it so much that he built like a whole universe of cast and characters and stories and backstories and everything that gave like more color and life to him for this. It's interesting because, like, you never know what things you'll be famous for. You know which things are going to stick with people, right? You can choose what you want to put out there in the universe, but the market chooses what it values, it actually wants. And so our job is not to know, it's just to put as many things in top of the funnel as possible. From that, different things will get deeper and deeper, where your best work will appear. When all said and done, this first book, the beginning one, was the one that was lost and it turned to such a big thing. I think for us, it's like coming out there and just knowing, like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know exactly the game plan. I just know that my job is to publish and put myself out there and try to share any of the insights that I've got from my life to other people, and the right people are going to find it. They're going to hear your voice, a chance to change their lives. So put a lot of stuff out there consistently, even if it makes no sense right now. Oz doesn't make any sense. There's a walking scarecrow, for crying out. No, this makes no sense. The moral of the story is you're one book of Oz away. All right, if you want to dive a little bit deeper with Elbert Hubbard and the Roycrofters. Again, I did a video a little while ago about his #1 best-selling book, which is called Message to Garcia. We'll link to that video in the description down below. You can also get the actual entire PDF of the book notes page. So again, all that stuff's down in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the story, and hopefully this inspires you to get your message out to more people, because people's lives you're going to change are just waiting for it. So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next video.